You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Okay, Deb?
Yep, okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I now call to order the meeting of the directors of Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Monday, April 17th, 2023. I'd like to note for the record, this meeting is being webcast. As usual, we welcome public comment on today's agenda items. Note that for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 9 a.m. this morning. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. I will also note that we do not have any members of the public. Well, that's not true. We do have members from the public here, and we welcome any comments that they may have. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting, and we are free to ask any question, and they are free to ask any questions at any time. Before we get going, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a new member to our board, Eric Wright. Eric, welcome. Who was recommended to serve by Governor Cuomo last week, was it? Yes. We welcome you and look forward to you joining our work. here on the board in this important enterprise in Western New York. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the agenda items. If so, you would please take this opportunity to make that appropriate disclosure and report it to the top for the record. I would like to note that I will be recusing myself from item number 5 on the agenda. So Debbie, if you would make a note of that, please.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
So we can now begin. The first item is the request for the corporation to adopt revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. Steve, when you're ready.
Great. Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everybody. On March 23rd of this year, the Empire State Development Parent Corporation Board of Directors adopted the proposed 2023 guidelines, which sets forth the policies and procedures to be followed by ESD and its subsidiaries, including the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, when seeking to contract for goods and services. It's required that each subsidiary approve its own procurement guidelines in terms virtually identical to the proposed guidelines. These are nearly identical to last year's proposed guidelines, with any departure fully explained. Accordingly, we're asking the directors today to approve the attached proposed 2023 guidelines. It should be noted that these guidelines do not have the force of law and are intended as a statement of best practices and procedures. No contract is invalid merely because these guidelines have not been followed. The proposed guidelines define the universe of procurement transactions, which are subject to the policies and procedures. They explain the various means of obtaining goods and services in an open, accountable, and transparent manner, including incorporation of the corporation's bid opening guidelines and the compilation of procurement records for every covered procurement contract. Guidelines comply with the applicable provisions of the Public Authorities Law, State Finance Law, and State Tax Law. ESD staff has determined that approval of the proposed 2023 guidelines does not constitute an action as defined by the New York Law, State Finance Law, and State Tax Law. ESD staff has determined that approval of the proposed 2023 guidelines does not constitute an action.
Excuse me, ma'am. Just joined. Could you mute yourself?
Can you take yourself off camera? You're on the camera. Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, ESD staff has determined that the approval of the guidelines does not constitute an action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and its implementing regulations. Therefore, no further environmental review is required in connection with the requested approval. The directors are requested to adopt the proposed 2023 guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested action.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from any of the directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. Let's see, Mark Wendell's ECHDC Senior Director of Design will now present our next item, a request for the corporation to approve a real property transaction related to the canal side land use improvement project. Mark?
Thank you, Robert. So the overall North Auto Block site is currently bounded on the north by the I-190 Lower Terrace, and on the east by on the east by Main Street, on the west by Commercial Pearl Street, and on the south by the main canal. Within the current configuration of the North Auto Block, extends a portion of state-owned property into Lower Terrace, a city-owned street. Likewise, there are portions of the City of Buffalo-owned property along Commercial Pearl Street that are part of the recreated canals constructed by ECHDC. With the anticipation of future development to take place at the North Auto Block site, ECHDC began discussions with the City of Buffalo in 2022 to transfer these parcels to each other. The two parcels that the city ECHDC will be taking over total 0.133 acres. and are currently part of the city of Buffalo's right-of-way for commercial and Pearl Streets. An excessively wide right-of-way due to historical issues, the eastern side of this parcel would allow ECHDC to maximize private redevelopment of the area while continuing the state's investment in the gateway building and maintenance of the main canal. The 0.164 acre parcel to be disposed by ECHDC is a primarily vacant parcel, part of the former super block that once contained the War Memorial Auditorium, a professional sports venue that was demolished by ECHDC in 2009. The parcel contained a significant city of Buffalo water line, sewer lines, and other infrastructure best situated under the city's ownership and control. These real property transactions would allow the ECHDC to finalize the redevelopment of North Odd Block while allowing the city to maintain its streets and utilities without unnecessary relocations. The city has agreed to allow ECHDC to maintain control of its sole access of the 0.164 acre parcel through the completion of the gateway building and North Odd Block construction. ECHDC has agreed to incur the cost of the sanitary sewer relocation along Commercial Pearl Street necessary to allow for the 0.133 acre parcel to be developed. The staff requests the board's approval to enter into any necessary agreements with the city for the acquisition of two parcels, totaling 1.133 acres for an amount not to exceed $1, and the disposal of 0.164 acre parcel in the amount of $1, as generally described above. The requested action, the directors are requested to authorize the corporation to acquire the real property described in these materials in the amount not to exceed $1. Authorize the corporation to dispose of real property described in these materials in an amount of $1. And based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of this requested action.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions or comments from any of the directors? Connie?
I just have a comment. It seems like this transaction will clear a lot up and make going forward much easier.
Yes, it will. And then this is something that we've been trying to work with all the projects is to kind of consolidate and eliminate the slivers and make sure that each municipality has the right oversight.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next item is the Canal Side Gateway Building Architectural Design. Mr. Wendell.
Thank you. In January 2021, the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation Board adopted a modified general project plan, which described the development plan for the North Odd Block as a multiple building development with reference to historic street grids, including a subgrade parking structure. The facility development plan adopted by the board for the North Odd Block, ECHDC retained a consultant team to design the Canal Side Gateway building, which is the smallest parcel within the development plan. The program required certain mandatory design features to be included, such as public access through the ground floor or the towpath level, public restrooms, ADA accessibility from street level down to the towpath level, and canal lighting for the evening events. The program will include retail, a security office and meeting rooms on the upper floors. Additionally, the building was designed to comply with the Canal Side design guidelines and help establish an exterior aesthetic for North Odd Block development while complementing the buildings along the South Odd Block. The project is a single building of approximately 12,000 total gross square feet. The building is sited in the southwest corner of the North Odd Block, confined by Pearl Street into the west and the main canal to the south. The Commercial Street Bridge landing will be at the east end of the building with the associated towpaths there to remain. The building will be 4 stories in height with a ground floor level of towpath. The building exterior will have a stone veneer base that will run continuous from the towpath level to the first floor windowsills, terminating at a stone landing. Stone will be a grade to match the granite stone utilized for the main canal walls currently constructed. The exterior of the upper floors of the building will be brick masonry veneer. The brick veneer will be set back in select locations to provide some depth to the elevation, including brick corbelline below the 3rd floor and creating a cornice at the top of the building to add shadow. The entrance to the building is in the northwest corner, facing the interior portion of the development parcel. The entrance will be more distinguishable, being framed with more contemporary materials such as scored concrete panels and aluminum storefront. The 2nd and 3rd floor each have a projecting balcony above the entrance as well. The windows will be aluminum clad wood windows and the balconies will be of black metal. There are renderings of the back portion of this attachment. The project has been formally reviewed by the Canal Site Design Review Committee to determine its consistency with the Canal Site Design guidelines. During the technical review, the committee made a recommendation for approval on the exterior with the following conditions: review of the exterior light fixtures and a final detail for a raised planter that will go along near the commercial bridge. Signage for the gateway building was not reviewed at this time. The directors are requested to authorize the corporation, based on the recommendations of ECHDC's Design Review Committee and the City of Buffalo Planning Board, find the project is consistent with the design guidelines established by the corporation as part of the MGPP for Canal Side Land Use Improvement Project without modification thereof. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval for this requested action.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions? Any comments? Connie?
I have two comments. Mark, I would like a little bit of clarification on review of exterior light fixtures.
So currently we have a light fixture package that is part of the documents. There's a select fixture that's for basis design, but we want to make sure we review it to make sure whatever is being recommended by the contractor is the appropriate light fixture to be on the exterior.
Appropriate in terms of
Aesthetic lighting to kind of to provide lighting around the building, but also meet the proper aesthetic that we're trying to achieve with the building.
okay. And in addition to that, one thing that I think that we obviously don't have a lot of green space.
Correct.
And I'm very happy about the planter being approved, but I would like to make a recommendation if there's any way to get planter boxes, window boxes onto the facade of the building.
I think we can definitely work with the consultant on that. to get
I'd
more-
really
more
like to see
green.
that. I'd really like to see that added on. Thank you.
That's it?
Just a quick question. Will the facilities be available for public use all 4 seasons?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, Mark, please continue with the general construction services contract in connection with the building we just designed, the design of the building we just approved.
Thank you. So yes, on February 9th, 2023, ECHDC issued an information to bidders for the aforementioned Canal Side Gateway Building project. A total of 3 bids were received on March 16th, 2023, and read aloud publicly through a conference call. ECHDC and Buffalo Construction Consultants are construction manager on this project. Descope, the Manning Squares Henning, who was the apparent low bidder, and Huber Construction on March 22nd, 2023. Buffalo Construction Consultants recommended awarding the contract to Manning Squares Henning, who was found by ECHDC to be the lowest responsible bidder. The low bid is within the allocated project budget. Base bid submission includes the relocation of the sanitary lines we mentioned during the parcel swap through the project site. This was requested by the Buffalo Sewer Authority as new construction cannot be constructed over an active discharge line. That line is located approximately 27 feet below grade, requiring deep excavation and shoring. The base bid also includes furniture fit out for the office and the conference rooms. For nearly 65 years, Manning Squares Henning has been in business of providing Western New York and beyond with service in the construction industry. The company, which began in 1958, provides a wide variety of general construction services and performance oversight. Manning Squares Henning is located on 7 Springs Road in Batavia. They also, I should mention, have a Buffalo office that was established about a year ago. They have worked on a number of private and public projects in the city of Buffalo, including the Buffalo Zoo and the Buffalo Bills training facility. They have also worked on various state agencies such as State University Construction Fund. This project is slated to begin May 1st, 2023 and expected to be completed by February 28th, 2025. This contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $14,250,000, which is included a $13,315,000 base bid and a $935,000 contingency. As delineated in the project plans and specifications dated February 9th, 2023, along with 4 addenda that were provided during the bidding period. ECHDC intends to issue a notice to proceed to Manning Squares Henning in the amount of $50,000 to begin to submit material information based on long lead items we anticipate. The project funding source shall be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentive Award. The project pursuant to state finance law subsection 139J and 139K and the corporation's policy related therefore. Staff considered proposed contract's ability to perform the services provided for the proposed contract and consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred officers maintained by the New York State Office of General Services. Based on the foregoing, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to this contract. We will have an overall MWB participation goal of 30% and SDVOB participation goal of 6%. The aforementioned goal shall include a minority business enterprise separately of 15% and women business enterprise of 15%. Henning Squares Henning has already identified 18 subcontractors at this time that will assist them in complying with the MWBE and SDVOB goals. ESD as lead agency completed an environmental review of Canal side project pursuant to the requirement of the State Environmental Quality Review Act and the implementing regulations of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. This review, which was coordinated with all involved agencies due to the project's type 1 classification, involved the preparation of a draft and final generic environmental impact statement. The ESD Board of Directors issued a secret findings for the project on March 26, 2010. 2010 secret documents included a full assessment of the preferred alternative that involved the anticipated level of development that was presented in the original 2010 GPP. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the host contractor, authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Manning Squares Henning and Company for an amount not to exceed their base bid of $13,315,000 plus the $935,000 contingency for a total contract amount of $14,250,000. And to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? I'll entertain a motion to approve. Excuse me. Seconded.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Mark, if you would now continue and present the request for to designate a preferred developer for the North Odd Block Development Project.
Great. As this is moving along, as you just again, is a response to the North Odd Block site we talked at item 2. ECHDC has advertised a request for proposals in the New York State Contract Reporter on May 11th, 2022. On September 22nd, 2022, ECHDC received and opened 3 proposals. These proposals were reviewed and scored by the selection committee before interviews with all 3 teams were held in January 2023. The selection committee, consisting of representatives from ECHDC and ESD, reviewed the responses to the RFP against evaluation criteria measuring various aspects of each proposal, including but not limited to the proposed development program, the proposed purchase price for the property, the team's experience in undertaking similar projects, the quality of the development plan, and the ability to complete the project in the most expeditious manner, the quality of reasonableness of the financial plan, and the extent to which each team proactively undertakes diversity practice in its work. The selection committee recommends the development team of Penrose New York developer with GSD Urban Solutions, doing business as M Squared, and the Westminster Economic Development Initiative as a preferred developer to undertake the North Odd Block development. Penrose New York developer, located in Brooklyn, New York, is a national leader in the development and operation of market rate, mixed income, and mixed use communities. The firm has expertise in the development of highly complex mixed use and environmentally sustainable luxury housing developments, including Gateway Transit Village / The View and the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center. Additionally, Penrose focuses on creating affordable housing and is currently working with the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority on the Commodore Perry revitalization efforts, less than 1 mile away from the site. These developments respond to myriad nuanced requirements driven by layered residential and commercial programs, including apartments, office theater, and cultural facilities and parking. Penrose is teamed with GSD Urban Solutions, or M Squared, located in New York, New York, a woman-owned and managed social impact real estate company focused on building new mixed income housing projects that promote affordability, sustainability, and diversity. To achieve this goal, M Squared leverages their extensive experience in urban development and financing to invest in and co-develop mixed income projects in cities across the country. In addition to mixed income projects underway in Newark, New Jersey, and New York City, M Squared has raised and currently manages M Squared Development Partners, an Equitable Housing Solutions Fund, and M Squared Impact Partners, and anticipate not only being co-developer, but an equity partner in this project. Penrose is also teamed with the Westminster Economic Development Initiative, whose vision is that all residents of Western New York can succeed and thrive in a culturally inclusive community. WEDI's dual focus areas of education and economic development work in tandem to tackle systemic inequalities that affect Buffalo's underserved residents, many of whom are people of color. By supporting youth to succeed in school, empowering entrepreneurs to launch, sustain, and grow small businesses, WEDI is helping to create a more equitable Buffalo. The proposed development will construct 5 buildings that will provide approximately 554,000 gross square feet of overall development program. Retail/commercial space will be located along the towpath and street levels. Approximately 367 total residential units with a mix of affordable market rate units will be on the upper floors. The project will also include 2 subsurface parking levels that will provide 360 parking spaces. Based on the proposal provided, the project will create over 1,000 construction jobs and 122 permanent jobs when it's in full operation. Following the designation of Penrose with M Squared and WEDI as the preferred developer, ECHDC will promptly negotiate the principal terms and conditions of the development agreement. These terms and conditions, as well as a modified general project plan if necessary, would then be presented to the directors for their approval. No binding agreement will be entered into until further approval is received by the ECHDC board, detailing the terms of the project. Pursuant to state finance law 139J, 139K, and the corporation's policy related to therefore, the staff has considered proposed contract for developers' ability to perform the services provided for the proposed contract and consulted with the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders to our offers by the New York State Office of General Services. Project schedule will be prepared by the preferred development team once they have been fully engaged. ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will apply to ECHDC's funding, which is $10 million. The goals have been set at an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and SDVOB participation goal of 6%. In accordance with SECR regulations and thresholds set forth in ESD has evaluated the potential environmental effects of 5 MGPPs for the Canal site project to date. Most recently on January 20, 2022, which included an evaluation of the North Aud Block development project implementation and other updates to the project. The evaluation concluded that the projected scale and impacts and association mitigation measures already in place from the 2010 are still reasonable and applicable for the most recent MGPP. Therefore, no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. Directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to Penrose with M Squared and WEDI as the proposed preferred developer. Authorization to designate Penrose developer with M Squared and Westminster Economic Development Initiative as the preferred developer to undertake the North Aud Block development and take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval for these related requested actions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from any of the directors?
I just wanted to say this is a very unique partnership and I love it. And I also think it's keen based on the development going on at BMHA right now. And the connection between Penrose and WEDI is going to be really great for the community. My only comment is just, it would be great to see Penrose partner with and work on some Section 3 opportunities as well. I think that would also help elevate this project even more and what they're doing with the VMHA.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anything else? Connie?
I would like to, I'm in full agreement with what you're saying. It's a phenomenal development team. And I think we're very fortunate to have this team because they're going to be, you can see they're going to be very thoughtful on the many levels that are needed. And there are so many levels to get this right. So I think we've got a really good chance here with this team.
Anything else?
What's the timing? What would be the timing then of coming back with approval, review, and approval of the actual design? Is it just the designating the preferred developer? What's the anticipated time frame going forward?
I think, we're after this, obviously the approval of this, I mean, the action right here before we would begin in earnest with the developer to get the terms done. I think schedule wise, we'd like to have them on board before the end of the year and then begin looking in earnest with the design work through 2024. As far as I'm not think we're trying to pigeonhole them or really lock them into the date because we want to make sure this works correctly.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will recuse myself. Thank you. Okay, next is the Erie Canal Bicentennial at Canal site. That you, Steve?
That is me this time. Yes. Gotta switch it up.
Now the B team.
Anyway, this is a great item. They saved the best items for last, and so I'll present. Buffalo History Museum is Western New York's premier historical organization in existence since 1862. And the museum has been collaborating with the Harbor Development Corporation far back as 2010, when we established our Canal Side Cultural Committee to help explore opportunities for incorporating cultural institutions, assets, and stories into the overall development of Canal Side. The museum currently advises ECHDC from its position on the Canal Side History Advisory Group. And this group voluntarily assisted with the development of our Erie Canal Bicentennial Visitor Experience Plan and experience briefs. Last month, the directors awarded a consultant contract for the design, fabrication, and installation of keynote experiences to go along with for our 2025 commemoration. However, historical research to support these experiences remains to be completed, and the museum is uniquely qualified to provide accurate historical research, including collaboration and coordination with underrepresented communities and identification of appropriate artifacts that will not only inform these keynote experiences, but really be the basis for the story that we tell. As our premier museum partner, the professionalism and integrity of the Buffalo History Museum will ensure the public's trust in our bicentennial commemoration at Canal Side. Their contract will cover fees and expenses through May 31st, 2025. And we will have a contract amount not to exceed $275,000. The funding source will be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentive Award. Empire State Development staff has determined that the action, which involves entering into a contract for design and implementation of temporary and seasonal interpretive and educational features within the Long Shed building, around the existing ruins areas. This is where our keynote experiences to take place. Constitutes a type 2 action. No further environmental review is required at this time. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, authorize the corporation to designate the Buffalo History Museum as the premier museum partner for the Erie Canal Bicentennial at Canal Side, authorize the corporation to enter into a contract with the History Museum for an amount not to exceed $275,000, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the actions.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments?
What's going to happen to the experiences after this?
And the Long Shed being an interior, it's envisioned at this point to be obviously interior, but multimedia presentation. We're talking about the museum with the History Museum about the potential, taking that back to the History Museum for a longer life. And the other two experiences we're looking at, one in the ruins and a light show out on the canal, the main canal. We hope to, get as long a life out of those as we possibly can. So certainly a few years, if not.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Entertain a motion. Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Well, give us 1 second.
I can still hear you speaking, but your camera's off.
How's
There you go.
that?
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Now the last item, which is the Buffalo Outer Harbor Access and Activation Civil Improvements Project. Steve?
Thank you, Robert. The consultant that we have for this contract amendment was actually part of our very original team for the our Outer Access and Activation Civic Project, which consisted of a number of capital improvements, enhancing access and greater use by the public on 30 acres down at the southern end of our site, which is now known as Lakeside. Given their extensive knowledge of the site and work with stakeholders back then, the consultant was contracted to analyze the entire 200-acre site that we owned, engaging the public through a series of open house and stakeholder meetings, and they developed a preferred plan for the Outer Harbor, including more preliminary design on capital projects. They've received several contract amendments to date, which again captures the scope of work for the various capital projects we've done, and then ones we're working on that were adopted as phase 1 improvements under the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic Land Use Improvements General Project Plan. This current contract amendment would allow our consultant team to provide construction administration over the final improvement projects at Bell Slip and Wilkeson Point. They were originally selected as part of a competitive procurement process advertised back on June 21st, 2016. At that time, we selected Trowbridge Wolf Michaels Landscape Architects as a New York State certified women business enterprise. Back in August of 2021, Fisher Associates acquired Trowbridge, and that's why today we're working with Fisher. The consultant has already completed oversight of the construction of the phase 1 projects under the original contract. They've completed planning, preliminary design work, as well as some construction administration and inspection amendments 1, 2, and 3. And again, here we are asking for amendment number 4. We did receive a contract reporter exemption for this as well. The scope of work and what we believe to be the final amendment for Fisher really is construction administration and construction inspection services. Again, at the Bell Slip project, which is currently underway, and at Wilkeson Point, which we expect to begin this fall. Contract amendment will cover fees and expenses from September 2021 through March 31st of 26. The added amount to complete the scope of work above shall not exceed $360,024, including reimbursables, for a total amended contract amount of $4,474,884, including prior approved contingencies. And we will be using New York Power Authority relicensing agreement funds. Directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Access and Activation Civic Improvement projects back at their meeting on February 8th. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with Fisher Associates for an amount not to exceed $360,024 for a total contract amount $4,474,884, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from any of the directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Move. Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Well, that concludes today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Second approved. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.